Yo, what's poppin'? Welcome to Concrete Basement, the only radio show completely dedicated to bringing you the most raw and unfiltered sounds of the underground. I'm your host, Alan H., coming to you live from the Aurora campus in Denver, Colorado. For the next 2 hours, I'll be your guide through the worlds of hardcore, techno, and everything in between. It's fast, loud, and that kind of sound that feels like slipping into a sweaty DIY venue with $10 in your pocket and not a single plan for the future. I'm gonna ease y'all in here with some solid starter bands for those of you who are severely untapped, yo.
Break on all you fucking pussies! Show you how the fuck we do it in the Bay, motherfucker!
I ain't shit. I ain't never gonna be shit. And you less of a man than me, so soon as I decide that you ain't gonna be shit, pow, so be it. You remember that, motherfucker.
Left alone, did you just forget a mistake or something you regret? Coward rise, that's all you'll ever be. You make your choice when you leave. Don't ask me for favors. Now I'm in control. Don't ask me for shit. Get fucked and die slow. Get fucked. Die slow. Don't rely on no one, always on my own. You let me down, I should've fucking known. Die slow.
Yo! Wrapping up that starter segment, that was Gulch with Flesh Pursuit. Next, we're gonna take it way back with some foundational hardcore classics.
got a six-pack and nothing to do. I got a six-pack and I don't need you. Back to my name. Six-pack. Set the rest up here, so who's to blame? Six-pack. They say I'm fucked them all the time. Six-pack. What they do's a waste of time. Six-pack. I know it'll be okay. I get a six-pack in me. Alright. My girlfriend asked me which one I like better. Six-pack. I hope the answer won't upset her. It's six-pack. I'm rolling a bottle in my mouth. Six-pack. I got a six, I'll never run out. Six-pack. I know it'll be okay. I get a six-pack in me. Alright. $35 for six-pack to my name. Six-pack. Let the rest on me, so who's to blame? Six-pack. They say I'm fucked up all the time. Six-pack. What they do's a waste of time. Six-pack. 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 What do they know about partying? Or anything else?
It's with the beer bomb.
That last track was Straight Edge by Minor Threat, the song that some would argue started the straight edge movement in the hardcore scene. And since we're already on the topic of straight edge, I thought I'd dedicate the next couple minutes to talking about straight edge culture as a whole, you know, old generation, new generation, and shit in between. So Ian MacKaye, singer of Minor Threat, he wrote straight edge back in 1989, I believe. And when he wrote the song, he never intended for it to start a movement or like a, you know, a militant attitude towards the ideology. All the song was really about was, you know, an individual's right to choose how they live their lives. And there's a really good interview by this little kid, this little jit, bro. Interviews Ian MacKaye, and, you know, Ian MacKaye talks about Minor Threat and Fugazi and shit. But there's a really cool segment in there where Ian MacKaye talks about straight edge and how he feels about the movement. Anyways, this little jit's YouTube channel is called Logan Sounds Off. I would highly recommend you guys go check out that interview. It's pretty cool. That kind of brings us, you know, talking a little bit more about, you know, like militant straight edge and, you know, the implications of that. You know, back in the 90s, FSU, this fucking mosh crew, literally on the FBI fucking watch list, bro. You know, they're like out here beating up people and shit for fucking, you know, having a good time. You know, it's like, imagine every time you drink a beer at a hardcore show, you were fucking worried about getting fucking jumped by fuck shit up gang. You know what I'm saying? Shit's crazy to me. And, you know, me personally, I just, you know, I can't align with that sort of lifestyle. Shit's wicked. But, you know, to each their own, I guess. You know, it's cool to have like a brotherhood or whatever. But I think just a hardcore community in general should be enough. You know. You know, since moving to Denver, I've been really fucking missing the South Florida hardcore scene. You know, and as much as I miss it, there are certain, you know, aspects of it that are, you know, a little strange to me. You know, it's like it's like an attempt to be different in a subculture. You know what I mean? So it's like, how different can you be amongst the people who are already different? You know, already consuming music that isn't mainstream and pulling up to shows every fucking weekend. Well, you know, my generation, fucking, you know, Gen Z, they're like, well, I can be straight edge, and, you know, because all these kids around me are, you know, smoking Zaza and fucking drinking beer and smoking cigarettes and hitting the vape. I'm gonna reject all of that, and I'm gonna get a bunch of American traditional tattoos, and I'm gonna look sick as fuck. But, you know, like, it can only go so far, you know, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it'd be the same niggas claiming age with Red Bull addictions. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, caffeine is a stimulant, guys. And I don't know if we were aware of that, but, like, you know, to me, that kind of still counts as you know, abusing substances if you're drinking Monsters and Red Bulls every day. I also know people, well, specifically one person who had claimed edge and then was smacking my vape on the side. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I know a couple people personally who have literally, you know, admitted in some conversations that, you know, they were only edge because they thought that shit was cool. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so it's like, is this just like a new trend, or are there people who are really about that shit? And it's like, if you're gonna commit to being straight edge, bro, and then you break, then low-key, you was never really committed. I can't even really be one. I'm not one to talk at all. I would never claim. And, you know, I love my beer and I love my cigarettes, but, you know, I definitely do have a lot of respect for the people who are able to dedicate themselves to something like that. I think that's righteous as fuck, you know? It's pretty cool. And then, of course, you know, there are the old heads. You know, always got to respect your fucking old heads. Dude who runs the South Florida hardcore scene, Jeff, you know, looks young, but he's an old fucking man, you know, and he's 10 years deep into this shit. Fucking vegan and straight edge, bro. Nigga making fucking vegan mac and cheese every Thanksgiving and shit. Like, that's some real fucking dedication. And you gotta have respect for someone like that who can, you know, balance their life without substances and then also managing to run an entire fucking scene, you know, in South Florida. That shit's, you know, kudos to fucking Jeff, bro. Everyone loves Jeff. Probably the best guy you'll ever fucking meet if you ever do get the chance to meet him. But, you know, beyond respect for the people who are able to dedicate themselves to straight edge, even more than that is the respect that I have for the music that these people fucking make, dude. Because this is some really fucking powerful shit, you know? So in no way am I the spokesperson for this shit or someone that you should even honestly listen to at all. However, if you're going to claim edge, bro, really be about that shit. Because there's niggas who was really about that shit, putting their heart and soul into these fucking songs, into this music, into these lyrics, bro. And I think that shit's beautiful. So don't fucking take a fat shit on it by breaking edge, you know? With that being said, this next segment is for all you edge men and women out there. Gonna be starting with a North Carolina band I just recently got to see at the FYA Festival in Orlando. Here is Magnitude with the song Opposition.
Voice come back to the light. Return the light. We're souls that have been cheated and deceived. Victims of treason. Don't to believe that
million more miles to roll. Think of life, live for me back home. A barrel just to watch the greener grass grow. And all the time to be alone. 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 2 weeks home, cripple me, 'cause the trees don't pass. Allowed to move, and the wild was collapsed. And my river was moved that down lane. Had it from an open road, just no house to go, no home to walk. And the gate is a rage, and we're just lost down inside. There's a million more miles to roll. Think your life left for me back home. A barrel just to watch the greener grass grow. And all the time to feel alone. Black paradise. But the keys ain't on the exit. I left the big green beer drive me from this city. How many things but simplicity? Anywhere from this city. How many things but simplicity? What goes with this claim? It's wasting those around us. Angry is so ready to give up. Their minds, their voice, their bodies. Their minds, their voice, their bodies. They sacrifice their soul. Ready for silence. Begging for silence. Bring it down. What comes with this claim? The power and wisdom to know that nothing in this life will ever make us like them. My mind, my voice, my body. I won't sacrifice my soul. That can't be your justice. But there is no truth. A life of self-sacrifice, until creation, and fortune to guarantee the events of a lot of affection. Set fire to the heart's desire, shaken by steel. No longer in the dark, dwelling in the shadows. Nevermore. I surrender all. I am my king. Yes, I will do it. Much more than this is. Give. I surrender all. I am my spend. And my essence is much more than this is. Yeah. breaking doesn't fear. Yeah, I feel your pain. I feel your emptiness. End of this day. Your blood will touch blood. Because I am an example of an unfree. Wanting for the next breath, find a way. Find a way. Find a way. Wanting for the next breath, find a way.
Representing South Florida with that last one there, that was Supplication by Strong Arm. Now, as much as I respect straight edge culture and the music, I personally believe that getting fucked up is a part of the human experience. Now, don't get me wrong, it's righteous as fuck to stand up for some shit. But every once in a while, it's nice to set your ego to the side and sit the fuck down. And while you're sitting there, maybe crack open a cold one. Perhaps even light up a cigarette. Maybe, and just maybe, if you're lucky, when you sat your fat, lazy ass down, you felt a little baggy in your back pocket. Well, that's what this next section of the show was all about. A community of absolute degenerates who like to do drugs, feel the love, and dance until the sun comes up. I'm glad to inform you all that the time has come to turn this show upside down. We've had plenty of hardcore thus far, and now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for techno. It's time for the flip!
Taubes in die Fingerspitzen.
in the back, geeking, cataract. I've been going out of my mind, cause I can feel it in the back, geeking, cataract. I've been going out of my mind, cause I can feel it in the back, geeking, cataract. I've been going out of my mind, cause I can feel it in the back, geeking, cataract. I've been going out of my mind, cause I can feel it in the back, geeking, cataract. I've been going out of my mind, cause I can feel it in the back, geeking, cataract. I've been going out of my mind, cause I can feel it in the back, geeking, cataract. I've been going out of my mind, cause I can feel it in the back, geeking, cataract. I've been going out of my mind, cause I can. I've been going out of my mind, cause I can feel it in the back, geeking, cataract. I've been going out of my mind, cause I can feel it in the back, geeking, cataract. I've been going out of my mind, cause I can feel it in the back, geeking, cataract. I've been going out of my mind, cause I can.
Really hope you guys have been enjoying the flip so far. That was No More Lies by German DJ Nicolina. I highly recommend you check out her live set from HOR on YouTube. And I'm going to take the next couple of minutes to talk about the South Florida and Denver rave scenes, as well as my own personal experience with rave culture. Okay, so the way that rave culture is treated in South Florida is almost like vastly different compared to the way it's treated here in Denver. First of all, there's huge musical differences. South Florida is a lot more house and techno based, and here it is dubstep and rhythm, which I personally think is very corny and sounds like a 2016 YouTube intro. But that's just me. Everyone has their own opinions and it's cool. But a huge part of that, I think also as well, is the lack of culture. Colorado obviously is majority white people, and I'm not trying to be a racist or a hater, but I will say that the cultural diversity in South Florida is way stronger, and it definitely reflects on the type of music that is being played in the underground and the type of scenes that are available in these locations. Even when it's not a warehouse, South Florida is vastly stronger in terms of like the venues and the artists that they bring. Denver has Red Rocks, and South Florida has Factory Town, which, if you are not aware, Factory Town is basically fucking Disney World, but for rave events. But honestly, I don't think it's fair for me to compare the mainstream raves in Miami to the mainstream raves in Denver, Colorado. So I'm gonna focus more on the underground. One good thing I will say about the Denver underground scene is that because it's popular for things to be underground, there's a lot of industrial spaces around Denver. I've been to a few warehouse raves and had a lot of fucking fun. I can't lie. You know what I mean? I've been to like maybe 1 or 2 warehouse raves in South Florida, and they weren't really warehouses. It was like either like abandoned apartment buildings, or it was a warehouse that was super fucking small. You know what I mean? There's just not that much space. There's not many spaces like that in South Florida. South Florida is definitely more of a venue-based, event area. But Denver does have a lot of these industrial spaces and areas where warehouse raves are able to take place. And there is something very special about warehouse raves, It's like you actually feel like you're doing something that other people don't fucking know about. You know what I mean? It's like you got to be tapped in to be here type shit. And that's how I've felt, a couple times going to certain venues, or not even venues, but just, raves in Denver. It's like it's the people who are tapped in, and you can definitely tell from the crowd. You know what I mean? Also, when it's not a venue and you go to the rave with a really hot lesbian, and then you just tell the people working the doors that she's on the list, and then you get in for free. And you skip the whole line that's outside waiting in the freezing fucking cold. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's just little things like that. It makes it more magical. It makes it feel more like a fucking movie. And then you already have the fucking VIP wristband on, so why not go ahead and go behind the deck? And that's a thing I've done since being in Denver. So yeah, is the music a lot better in Miami? Yeah, I would agree. I would say so, yes. I would say the cultural differences are significant. However, the vibes of Denver, Colorado's underground rave scene are also pretty freaking amazing. Yeah, so I don't really know how much I want to talk about my own personal experience, because everything I want to talk about kind of just involves drugs, and this is a radio show that's going to be broadcasted by my college, so probably shouldn't do all that. But what I will say is shotgun a Cutwater before you go in, and make sure you got that thing on you, bro. And if you know, if you know, wink wink, that thing. Have that thing on you if you're planning to dance for more than 3 hours. This next segment I filled up with some Gabber tracks I've really been fucking with recently. And since we're already on the topic of drugs, this next track is by a French DJ named Loic D. It's called
Cocaine. Cocaine.
was in Berlin at the Spatey, and this German dude, he want to fight me. He called me names, he said all this German stuff. I don't know, he said something like, du bist ein Schweinhund!
Du bist ein Schwein! Du bist ein Schweinhund! Du bist ein Schwein! Du bist ein Schweinhund!
Hey man, sorry, I don't want to fight. I just wanna have a real good night tonight. I am from the Netherlands, where the party never ends. Man, so sick and tired because drugs are required. Man, I'd rather sit at home, spending hours on my phone. Just leave me alone, please, just leave me alone. Man, I'd rather sit at home, spending hours on my phone. But this German guy, he went to Gabber at the Thunderdome.
Du bist ein Schwein! Du bist ein Schweinhund! Du bist ein Schwein! Du bist ein
Filthy dog. Filthy dog.
Fick, gib ein Fick, ich geb ein Fick auf deine Klick, mein Bastard fickt den Augenblick.
What a chance. The speed of light. The bass. The drum. Roll the mic. Fast up. Hard up. Bring on that fast up. Hard up. Louder. I want you to go faster, louder, like the speed of sound, like the speed of a bullet. Bring it on now. Run it down.
Yo, we've been riding that techno kick for a fucking while now. Steady, pounding, hypnotic, but low end is fucking low end. Swap the DJ deck for a double pedal, and suddenly the warehouse turns into a fucking war zone. Same punch, different chaos. This is To React by Sentence.
This of grace and paint the pavement. I take my dreams and put them in the ground. Life is what I need it, and every day I'm forsaken. Can't leave behind this weight of suffering. Every piece of life died. Justified, my blood never meant a thing. None was the shit worth living. Forgiveness never found a fucking point. You're just a product of the weakest that kills me every day. All on my own this time. I tore up from the sky. In life or death I won't be free. Every minute spent pulling with the best of me. My mouth is raised and my back to the wall. Every time towards the end of hell I crawl. I throw a lamp with a fucking illusion. It's not much of it, I am using
That was Final Resting Place wrapping up the chaos with Prelude to Extinction. Now, Final Resting Place is one of those bands that people have been absolutely dick riding recently, bro. Like, I'm talking about sucking that shit straight dry. Like really bouncing on that shit crazy style. And I don't blame them. The art is cool, the music is sick, but let's keep it a buck. They're ripping Dehumanized, and they're a direct reaction to the popularity of the 2020s beatdown bands like Tsunami and Out of Pocket. And I'm not gonna lie, bro, the explosion of beatdown style bands in the 2020s, bro, or it's still the 2020s, but like the earlier 2020s, like 2020 to 2023, it was fucking annoying, and we suffered for years after that, kept getting Tsunami fucking worship bands over and over again, and it felt like the scene wasn't really moving anywhere. But at the same time, Tsunami also gave the hardcore scene an opportunity to really expand and blow up. Low-key, the Bay Area as a whole has done a lot for the popularity of the hardcore scene. Whether or not you think that's a good or a bad thing is completely up to you. Me personally, I don't have TikTok on my phone, so I do think it's really annoying when TikTok kids pull up to shows. But you know, what can you do? You know, at least some of them are really gonna be true to this shit, and they're really gonna dig deeper, and they're gonna go get tapped in. You know, that's why Tsunami's a fucking starter band. Tsunami was the first hardcore band I ever heard. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna keep it a buck. It was that beatdown shit from the Bay Area in the 2020s, bro. The early 2020s. But let's not sit around and pretend like Final Resting Place is not also kind of slightly a beatdown band. The whole reason that they're so cool is because they're half hardcore, half death metal, and the hardcore part happens to be beatdown, guys. But that's no hate towards FRP, bro. I really wish I got that fucking hoodie, bro, on the Days tour, but luckily I have been able to catch them twice, you know, in my lifetime, which I think is going to be pretty cool, you know, in 30 years when all the old heads gather around together and talk about fucking FRP and who still has their fucking FRP hoodie and shit. That'll be, you know, kind of cool. And, you know, the scariest pits I've ever seen in my life, I can't lie. FRP really got it like that, you know? Mass fucking casualty. Extinction begins, bitch. But before I was ever tapped in enough to even care about Final Resting Place, I was fucking in love with the Bay Area bands, bro. And that's low-key what first got me into death metal, too. Because, you know, I got tapped into, like, Snuffed on Sight was probably a huge one for me, bro. I can't lie. When that shit dropped in, like, 2023, Time to Dip, I think. Or, no, it was Smoke. Smoke was the name of the record. I think that shit came out in 2023. Let me fact check that shit really quick. Yep, your boy was right. Smoke did come out in 2023, and I remember the day it came out, I was in New York City in my mom's apartment, and I listened to that shit in my AirPods, yo, and I thought it was the coolest, most crazy technical fucking death metal / slam I had ever heard in my fucking life. And I did eventually get to see them on tour with Peeling Flesh and Corpse Pile in Denver. Yeah, I actually saw them in Denver before I ever even thought about moving here. I flew out to see them, and it was pretty cool. Yeah, I had a really great time at that show, I can't lie. I think next show, I'm probably going to do a segment where I'm going to play some of those, like, mid-2020s, you know, like, slam death metal bands that, you know, only became a thing because of the beatdown explosion in, like, the early 2020s. And I think we'll just explore all of that. You know, we'll do some Bay Area band shit, and then we'll do some death metal slam stuff, too, as well. But for right now, in very vast contrast to the last segment that ended with a FRP, I'm gonna play a modern metalcore mashup. Get ready to get a little bit emotional with it. I fucking love metalcore. My first band is a metalcore band called Plaza. Go check us out. And we're gonna be starting this segment with a song called Under the Weight of a Blackened Sky by Balmora.
Yeah!
Alright, that last song was called Color of Carnelian by Sense My Beloved. Unfortunately, we are coming up on the end of the first installment of Concrete Basement here, but I do have one more segment planned for you guys, and that's going to be a little bit of a feel-good send-off segment, you know what I mean? These are all songs that are literally written for fucking stage diving, bro. Like, if you're not stage diving during these fucking songs, then what the fuck are you doing, bro? It's just, you know, these are the type of songs that are meant to, like, just put a fucking smile on your face, you know what I mean? It's just enjoy the music, enjoy your friends, enjoy life, my nigga. You know what I'm saying? Starting it off, we got a local band from South Florida called Collateral with the song called The Fool.
Motivated by the sound of the crowd. Look where it got you.
see it. These birds not meant to fly there. Finally, I can see it. These birds not meant to fly there. Finally, I can see it. These birds not meant to fly there. Finally, I can see it. These birds not meant to fly there.
Make your way down the face of everything we know, and go so far, see other places and other people who I won't know about. Breathe in deep, let it flow. Day and night, with so much more to get. I know why no one else knows why I am all alone again. Make it sound so good that I won't be right, and I walk alone tonight, outside my house and outside my mind. No matter what I say, I'm never afraid. Breathe in deep, let it flow. Day and night, it's so much more to get. I know why no one else knows why I am all alone again. Breathe in deep, let it flow. Did you hear? Go, go, go! Breathe in deep, let it flow. Did you hear? Go, go, go! Breathe in deep, let it flow. Did you hear me? Just go, go, go! Wanna play on your body? Wanna play for your body? Wanna play for you forever? Go, go, go! Wanna play for your body? Wanna play for your body? Wanna play for you forever? Go, go, go! Feeling like a bag of bones, shriveled up and cold. 19 years old. Straining out all of my inside, on the floor every night, supposed to make me feel alive. What would things be like if I told you I wouldn't mind? Swinging from the tree outside, would that be alright? Hope you don't mind. Feeling like a bag of bones, shriveled up and cold. 19 years old. A train nearby reminds me I'm not the only one who feels left alone. At least it's got some place to go. A train nearby reminds me I'm not the only one who feels left alone. At least it's got some place to go.
Well, that's going to be all from me, your host, Alan H. I really hope y'all fucked with the first installment of the show. Thanks for tuning in to Concrete Basement, the only radio show completely dedicated to bringing you the most raw and unfiltered sounds of the underground.